Recently, I read you a book about a duck named Quacker, and I told you there was a second one. Well, this is it. This one is called Quacker Meets Mrs. Moo. And it says, Tales from a Duck Named Quacker. Remember, Quacker starts with that Q, and it's followed by the U, because they always go together. And this is written by a man named Ricky Van Shelton. If he's the writer, that means he is the author. And the person who illustrated it is Shan Williams. And Shan Williams draws the pictures. Author, words, illustrator, pictures. And here's our title page. Okay. So Quacker the duck went on his way, wagging his tail like a dog. Remember, that's what our last story was about. And now he just goes on his way, still wagging his tail like a dog. And he decided to rest at his favorite spot. Oh, look. Decided to rest at his favorite spot by the pond in the shade on a log. See, there's the pond, and there's the log that he thinks he's going to rest at. Okay? He had just closed his eyes and was almost asleep. Look, he's even got a pillow. See the little pillow? He had just closed his eyes and was almost asleep when all of a sudden he was knocked to his feet. Uh-oh, let's look over here. We might see a clue about what's happening. All of a sudden something whopped him on the head and he is knocked off to his feet. Almost asleep, and now he's knocked to his feet. Well, he fluttered and flopped and honked and quacked. And he flew to the woods before he ever looked back. It must have startled him so much he flew to the woods and didn't look back. And there by the log stood the reason he flew. What is it? It's a cow. It was a cow named Mrs. Moo. So when he looked back, he saw there by the log stood the reason he flew. It was a cow named Mrs. Moo. Quacker, she said as she chewed on some grass. I'm sorry I scared you, but you sure flew fast. Isn't that a funny picture? Looks like the Mrs. Moo has on lipstick. She said, I'm sorry I scared you, but you sure flew fast. Fast into the woods, didn't he? So Quacker came waddling back to the shade. And he's mumbling to himself. He's going mumble, 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 mumble. I was almost asleep, to rest at last in the bed he had made. See, he's fluffing it up again. And when he was perched and all settled down, he said, Mrs. Moo, you sure are a clown. Now look at that. There's a picture of what he thinks a clown would look like when it was a cow. That's funny. Mrs. Moo, he says, you sure are a clown. I guess he's getting over being upset with her. To take your long tail and knock me down. So that's what that was. It was her tail. Whomp. He said, to take your long tail and knock me down. And then Mrs. Moo said, oh, Quacker, I didn't see you there, for I was eating my lunch with my head in the air. See, Quacker is back here. She's eating her lunch. She doesn't know he's back there, and there's her long tail. So that's what she says. Mrs. Moo said, Quacker, I didn't see you there, for I was eating my lunch with my head in the air. And the flies and the mosquitoes, well, they were bothering me. She's remembering what it felt like. So I took my long tail and I swatted all three. So she wasn't paying any attention, was she? The flies and the mosquitoes, well, they were bothering her. So she took her long tail and she swatted all three. But when my long tail flopped down again, it hit on your head, she said with a grin. And now she's going tee-hee-hee, like she thinks it's kind of funny. It hit you on the head, she said with a grin. And there she's remembering what it looked like. There's the tail on top of his head. And although it was funny, I didn't mean to. But just like I said, I never saw you. She thought it was kind of funny, but she didn't really see him, didn't she? She said, but just like I said, I never saw you. For it isn't nice to scare someone because they might get hurt if they start to run. That's what happened to Quacker, wasn't it? He started to run. So she knows it's not nice to scare him. And it never is fun to hurt anyone. Is that true, boys and girls? Is it never any fun to hurt anyone? It isn't. Now it says, the end. In the next story, Quacker meets a Canadian goose. There you go. So those are the 2 books I have about Quacker and how he met Mrs. Moo. And remember, this time, she scared him accidentally, and she apologized, didn't she? She said, I'm sorry, I certainly didn't mean to hurt you, because it is never fun to scare anyone, because you don't want them to get hurt. All right, thanks for listening, boys and girls. Bye.